We're here today to talk about the old Church Windows financial system into the new Church Windows accounting system. We decided that this topic was important. Windows, Microsoft, and Windows, older versions of Windows kind of forced a lot of users' hands, where basically the newer operating systems no longer support the old Access databases that Church Windows, older versions of Church Windows used to run. And so a lot of our folks and users were forced to upgrade to the new accounting system from the financial software, okay? And so that's why we felt it was important that there were enough folks who were confronted with that we felt like a webinar that kind of talked about, things that were done in financial and how things are maybe different in accounting now in comparison to that we felt was an important topic. So again, the final thing I want to talk about or ask about is please keep your questions on topic. If you have questions, please type those into the questions portion of the webinar control panel. I'll do my best to keep an eye on those. I'll repeat those questions for everyone's benefit, and we'll see what we can't do to get those questions answered, okay? But we've picked some of the most important differences between financial and accounting to talk about today, okay? So we're working on a document that will also have out on our support center that kind of covers some of these same details that we've discussed or that we're going to be covering today about that. So it'll be out on our website here again sometime in the next week or two. We just want to make sure that's a document that accurately covers what we're going to talk about today. So what we're going to do is we're going to launch into our accounting software, and one of the very first, I'm going to come back to this other page here in just a minute, this beginning balances button. But as we're talking about differences between financial and accounting, and I'm not going to be opening accounting today, folks. This is all going to be in accounting or in financial. It's all going to be in accounting today, okay? So, most of you, if you're transitioning from financial into accounting, are going to know exactly what I'm talking about, the processes where as they occurred in financial. And so I'm going to be focusing on accounting only in terms of this, okay? So the first and biggest, probably the biggest change that occurred between financial and accounting is we did away with, in accounting, the old transaction type called post-expense, okay? Nowhere in accounting are we going to see anything that refers to that option called post-expense under your transactions. Post-expense was essentially a cash method of accounting or paying bills, where it would debit the expense account, credit cash, and there would be a vendor or a payee that was assigned to that particular transaction. Well, the powers that be at Church Windows determined that post-expense was offered a poor audit trail for accounting, and so we did away with it, okay? Why this becomes important is if we go into our chart of accounts here in the middle, or manage accounts in view in the top left, when you upgraded from financial to accounting, all of those post-expense payees were put into this liability account down the left-hand side. And let me scroll down here a little bit in my chart of accounts. Unfortunately, I can't really zoom in on this, folks. But right here, the conversion process created this account here called accounts payable. In this case, in our chart of accounts, it's 2.20.100 called accounts payable, okay? All of your post-expense payees it created systematically this 200 account, and under that, it moved all of your post-expense payees and created these accounts called accounts payable vendors. These became accounts, okay? They're now accounts that you post to. There's a record of everything that's posted to each one of these expense payees now in accounting, okay? They're actually accounts. They don't have account numbers, but they are accounts that you debit and credit in the form of bills and payments, okay? There's actual transactions assigned to these and posted to these. These are physical accounts in your chart of accounts. They don't have account numbers, okay? So again, I'm going to reiterate this. Post-expense no longer exists. Everything now in Church Windows is accounts payable, okay? Church Windows is a payable accounting system, okay? It's what used to be called in financial under transactions accounts payable, where you would choose either post payables or payment authorization. Okay. The audit trail is better around this. Okay. It protects you. It protects the data. It makes it actually better for reporting too. Okay. Because they're actual physical transactions. Okay. So that's important to understand. And to kind of to further the process in your thinking for you, even though you may not have used post accounts payable, in the old financial system, you're really kind of forced to do that now. You don't have a single transaction type that debits the expense, credits cash, and assigns this payee name to those particular transactions, okay? So to kind of further that in your thinking, you may have some recollection of what that was like and what that involved, but how that parallels to this now in our accounting software is, if we're now kind of forced into a payable accounting system, the old post payables is now labeled in accounting as this function called enter bills. Enter bills is now what used to be called post payables in financial. Okay. What used to be called payment authorization in accounts payable in the old financial system is now called pay bills. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see my kind of big yellow highlighter and all these drawing these boxes here around this and pointing these arrows on this. Okay. So again, post payables is now called enter bills. Payment authorization is now called pay bills. 90 to 95 times out of 100, you're going to be going to enter bills and pay bills to record and enter your bills. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into the detail of how that process works. Okay. What I am going to do, though, is I am going to bring up my browser here, and I'm going to show you that if you have questions about that, either you're going to go back to our support center page, churchwindows.com/support, and right here under our support center page, if you type in something like enter bills and you click search, it's going to bring up some videos and documents on the enter bills and pay bills process in Church Windows Accounting. Okay, so there's your first step that we're going to be able to refer you to in order to be able to get some assistance and help in understanding the enter bills, pay bills, payable process in Church Windows Accounting, as we're going to refer you to the support center page for those help documents and videos out there. Okay, number one. Okay, the other thing that we want to point out is that I'm going to minimize your browser. We're going to go back to this. In our new versions of Church Windows, in this case in our in 21 and 22, I believe that it was that could have been back in as far as 20. But if I now go back here, and I'm in a prior year, so that's why I'm changing that. But here I am at Enter Bills, folks. If I'm in my Enter Bills page and I hit the F1 key on my keyboard, it's going to open up my browser, my internet browser. Let me bring that over here. Whoops, it should have brought that over here. Let's try that again. Yeah, so it brings up it should have opened up my help page on the Enter Bills window. I'm sorry, I'm not sure why that didn't come up here. F1 on your keyboard should bring up the help topic on the particular page that you're in Church Windows. Let's go try going to pay bills and see if that brings that up. Let me go back here and change my date because I'm in 2020 here. Let me try F1 again and see if that works. Okay, I'm sorry, folks. I don't know why that's not working. That should bring up the actual help pod topic on paying bills or enter bills or whatever page you're on. If you don't get that, please call us. I'm sorry, I'm not sure why it's not working for me. But that's okay. It will work if you're on the current version of the software, okay? So use those help files. Use the help files. Use the support center page in the software to help you get up to speed on entering and paying your bills. Again, since no post expense, now all accounts payable. Okay? So again, that's really the biggest change between financial and accounting is no post expense, all accounts payable. Okay? Second, and I can't show you this in accounting, folks, because it doesn't exist. The next thing that we don't want to talk about is the old financial system used to have a feature called Custom Report Writer. We no longer have a custom report writer option in in accounting, okay? We've brought in options in where there's some greater flexibility in terms of how you generate your reports in Church Windows Accounting. Also, we've enhanced the ability to be able to export data and reports from accounting. So then you could export things like reports into things like Excel or information into Excel, where you can manipulate that and create your own custom reports in something like Microsoft Excel. But the custom report writer that used to be in financial does not exist in accounting, okay? So don't even look for it. It's not even there. Any reporting that you have, you can customize in Church Windows, and I'm going to come back to that here in just a couple minutes, okay? The other thing that I wanted to mention as I was kind of developing this over the course of the weekend into the earlier portion of the week yesterday was some other things that you may run into that are going to be different in financial than you are in accounting. So if I go up to manage accounts here, and when you convert it over, if you've converted over there and you open accounting for the very first time, it's going to open up to this window that we're going to see here called Setup Chart of Accounts, okay? And what this is in financial, you could edit the beginning balances of any accounts for the new year at will, okay? Well, again, we've done away with that, okay? You have one and only one opportunity to enter and edit and finalize your beginning balances in Church Windows, and that's the time when you convert over to accounting. So right here, we notice, basically the bottom line on this is we no longer permit an unbalanced balance sheet. You cannot enter beginning balances in income and expense accounts. No longer permitted at all, okay? The software is now doing what it originally should have been doing before, but it didn't. So now it does. So right here, we're going to assume here that I've converted over in 2020. I've opened up my accounting for the very first time, and it opens up to this setup chart of accounts, and it's prompting me to finalize my 2020 beginning balances, okay? So in the effort of ensuring that we won't allow us to have an unbalanced balance sheet, if I come down here into, say, my funds or my liabilities, and I just plug in a beginning balance of $1 in one of these, and I tab down or click on an account below that, we see here that our debits and credit totals, our debits being our assets, our credits being our liabilities and fund balance on our balance sheet, if those are an even 1 penny out of balance, it's not going to allow us to finalize those without it balancing it. So just be prepared that as you're beginning to finalize these balances, if I try to click Finalize Beginning Balances, it's going to pop up with a box that says, hey, you're out of balance. You are currently out of balance. Would you like to go back to the balances and resolve the problem yourself, which we recommend, or would you like to let the program generate a balancing entry for you? So if you let it do it, it's going to force balance your balance sheet, and it's going to create an account called To Balance, and it's going to put that total onto your balance sheet with whatever account it determines that it needs to add, depending on how you're out of balance on your debits and credits, okay? It's kicking the can down the road. You're still going to have to deal with that at some point. But basically, we would recommend let's go back to balances. We're going to look through these. We're going to scroll down. We're going to go, oh, well, we've got this $1 right here in Michelle's Crafts. I'm going to get that back to 0. Now my debits and credits are balanced. I can finalize my beginning balances, and it'll pop up and say, once finalized, any changes to beginning balances must be recorded through a transaction entry. Are you sure you want to finalize your beginning balances? Okay. So again, software accounting now will not permit an unbalanced balance sheet. Okay. Really important. In all future years now, the assumption is unless you're going to start over and enter a new chart of accounts, enter a new chart of accounts to begin a new accounting year. Things are really bad. You need to start over. That's the point at which when you enter a brand new chart of accounts, you can key in and manually enter your beginning balances. But the assumption from this point forward is you're going to be bringing forward your December 31st balance sheet totals to start January or the first, day or month of your new accounting year, whatever that may be. Okay. So again, folks could go in and edit beginning balances in any assets, liabilities, accounts, fund balance, income, or expenses in financial. You have one opportunity to edit beginning balances in accounting. At that point, you no longer can edit those beginning balances. Everything has to be recorded through an entry. So we're going to click yes on that. And it's now then we're just finalizing our January 1 of 2020 beginning balances, okay? It's not closing the year. It's not preventing me from doing anything in 2020. It's just setting those beginning balances that then I'm going to copy forward into 2021, okay? All right, so next item on our list, bank reconciliations. Sure, while you could bring up bank reconciliations in financial, you had to go in and choose the asset, enter the statement ending balance. It wasn't very clean, very pretty per se, okay? In accounting now, once bank reconciliations, now the ones in financial, they're not available in accounting, but once you begin reconciling your bank statements in Church Windows Accounting, they are available for you to pull up quick and easy. So if we go in here, and I'm in 2020, folks, so if I go into bank reconciliation, I choose my select an asset account here, I choose, say, my main checking account. Now notice we go down to our select a saved bank reconciliation. All of my 2020 bank reconciliations are in my list that I can bring up. Whether those are finalized, yes or no, it does not matter, okay? So whether they say yes finalized or no finalized, they're available for me to bring up, okay? So I can just pick the statement period that I'm wanting. I go to next. I can either continue to work on it if it's finalized, or I can go to print, and I can print either the bank reconciliation report or the activity summary, okay? Don't have to guess as to what statement ending date it was. You don't have, it's right there, plain and simple for us, right here by choosing the asset, going down to your select a save list and choosing that, okay? Again, very simple and easy to access bank reconciliations in accounting after they're entered and saved, whether they're finalized or not, okay? So, again, these are, in our opinion, we wouldn't have designed it otherwise, folks, are marked improvements over the way that the old financial system did things, but they are things that you will have to adjust to as you're beginning to transition and work in accounting, okay? So just be aware. Things are going to be different. All of your chart of accounts are going to be the same, well, with the exception of, well, you know, the accounts payable vendors are even going to be different in the sense that they are accounts now, but they're still, they're accounts, they're there, they're just now accounts as opposed to a list of payees, okay? Finally, reports. Again, I stated that there was no custom report writer in the software, but one of the things that you've got here that's going to be very different is going to be your reporting capability in accounting, and I'm going to spend a few minutes on this here, is that when we go up to things like financial and reports and we choose a report like we would normally do, like a treasurer's report or a balance sheet, we've got some new reporting conventions in accounting now that, again, you didn't have in financial. So in financial, oftentimes you could check to include certain columns that you want to see on your reports, but that was about it, okay? You were kind of limited in terms of what you could do with reports in financial. In accounting, we kind of opened that up a little bit. So in addition to maybe like choosing my period in my treasurer's report here, so in this case maybe December or, you know, a particular quarter for my treasurer's report, I can still choose a fund. But the real power here comes in this tab called columns, where I can go, okay, I don't want to see, say, my previous year column on my treasurer's report. So I go over here to my visible columns. I go ahead and double click on that. It takes that off, okay? Or I go, oh, I meant to add that. I can take my previous year and add it back, okay? So I go, oh, I don't like that in that position. I can highlight that, and I can use these up and down arrows here, and I'm kind of talking here. Let me get out my highlighter to draw some focus. You can double click on them, or you can use these arrows in the middle, folks. Or over here on the far right, you can use these up and down arrows on the right to reorder your columns, okay? So if I go, ooh, I want my previous year now to go down to by my year-to-date balance, I'm going to choose previous year, and I'm going to push that down. Or I'm going to use, you know, push my year-to-date balance, and I'm going to push that above that, okay? So you see, you've got the ability to determine your column control, you know, so you can reorder the columns any way you, virtually any way you want. I can't add columns. I can't say, okay, I want to create a column. That may be something our developers look at adding in a future version of Church Windows, but for right now, it doesn't exist. But then once I've made those selections and I click print, it now opens up my treasurer's report with my selected columns, and it will remember those, folks. Okay, so I don't need to now tell the software to go back and reorder those columns next time. So if I close out and go back to, reports, export, financial, and treasurer's report again, if I go back to my columns, it's still going to put my previous monthly budget year to date and previous year in. All of my columns are going to be in the same order that they were the last time I ordered them there. Until I change them and preview the report, it's going to remember my selections. Okay? I don't have to click save or anything else. SQL is really good about saving those, saving the column. It's based on your particular logon. So assuming you have your own logon credentials to get into Church Windows and into accounting, it's going to remember your selections based on your particular user profile for the software. Again, we believe these are improvements. Okay? So again, a lot more reporting flexibility. If you go, I do want to do some manipulation of the reporting, I can go right here to print, or I can do it right here from the export option. But right here, I can go right up to my export option at the top, and here I've got a whole series of different file formats. I can export any of my Church Windows and accounting reports over into another program like Excel or XLSX or text or CSV file. I can open any of those in Excel, say, for example. Okay? Again, we don't have time to go into that, but I am going to bring up here, I'm going to go back into my website. I'm going to go back to my search, and I'm going to go right here under my keyword search at our support center, and I'm going to do export. Let's try doing export as our keyword. So right here, accounting, exporting accounting reports, right there. It's literally a 5-year-old video or document, folks, on exporting reports from Excel, from accounting into those other programs. This offers you enormous amounts of flexibility to do virtually anything you want. Whether you're on a network or local install or in the cloud, you can always export the reports from accounting to import into Excel or into another program or as PDF file, anything you wish. And all of these same functions transfer into the other modules as well, into membership, donations, and accounting. Okay? So that really is the bulk of our topic for today.